Hello, everyone. My name is Gary Lushious Thinking. Today, I have a good friend of mine, Calvin Pringle, on the show today. He's a top producer for Lock and Key Realty in the Tri-County area. If you don't know where the Tri-County area, that is Pinellas, Pasco, and Hillsborough County. Um, Calvin, how are you doing today?
I'm good, man.
Good. Good to hear.
Uh,
How's life going with this pandemic and everything?
Honestly, man, I think everything's kind of cool. I guess I'm sort of introverted as it is, so like working from home, being by myself, like nothing has really changed. What about you?
It's been weird. I think the start of the pandemic, I started reading books for the first time in years, and
I remember you telling me.
yeah, as you can see, I have a couple right here that I'm showcasing. It's the Ryan Holiday series. But yeah, I started reading books. I stopped watching TV as much, and it kind of showed in my work, you know. And I think that's one of the biggest things that's going on right now is a lot of people are, instead of doing what they would normally do, I think they're doing something different because when you spend a lot of time by yourself, you have a lot of, introspection that you're thinking about. So, um, what are some of the subtle changes that have happened, in the real estate world, because of the pandemic?
So, it, there's kind of like two phases of it, right? So you take the first, I don't know, what have we been in this 6 months now?
Yeah.
You take the first 3 months and like I kid you not, the first 30 days, 45 days, no one was looking. Everybody's in like fear and shock, and no one's wanting to check out houses. Nobody's wanting to put their home on the market because everybody's scared, right?
Yeah.
The psychology of the consumer. When the consumer's down, well, the market's down, yada, yada. So, um, then, as we start getting to the last 3 months, the past 3 months that we've been in, I mean, it's just been like rocking and rolling. I mean, as well as I do, interest rates are ridiculously low right now, and sellers can basically get what they want for their
Mhm.
home. And they're just now starting to kind of push back on that as far as appraisals go and saying, like, hey, this price is unreasonable. Let's cut back a little bit. Let's sell it at market.
Mhm.
But I understand because the demand is there.
Yeah, and yeah, I like what you said about that, where the appraisal process is a little bit different because it is. So do you think it's a seller's market then?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you kind of explain the difference between a seller's and a buyer's market to people who really aren't familiar with that?
Yeah. So, I mean, what I've been seeing is like every realtor that goes online, they're like, it's a seller's market. Sellers, sell your house, but they're not really explaining as to why. So basically, right now, the demand is through the roof for homes. And this is because homes are selling, I forget the exact number, but they're selling like, let's say, for instance, 2 or 3 times as fast as new homes are being listed.
Mhm.
So Joe Sally down the street, if she's thinking about selling her home, she can literally get market value for it as long as it's decently upgraded and somebody can move in and it's what we call turnkey, so you can just turn the key and kind of move your stuff in. I mean, you're in a phenomenal situation.
Oh, absolutely. Do you think that's also because, yeah, the demand is high, but um, there's not a lot of inventory out there still? Like it's still
Yeah.
coming back, like, I
Well,
mean,
that's where the demand comes from.
right.
I think. Well, it's two things. So interest rates being so low
Mhm.
are forcing buyers to make the decision that, hey, this two-bed house that I'm renting for $1,400, I can buy the same home for a
Mhm.
$1,000 mortgage.
Right.
So let's go ahead and lock that in.
Mhm.
And then with the supply being so low, that's kind of like why the demand is so high right
Yeah. And I think that the inventory is starting to ramp up. And that's why, like you said, in the first 3 months of the pandemic, I mean, it was all refis for me. I mean, I had two or three purchases, going on, but I mean, it's mostly refinances because with interest rates being so low, you have to take advantage of that. I had this campaign going on, it's refi 2020, making
now.
your home work for you. And it got a lot of traction, because politics, that the election that's going on right now, is kind of geared after that. But yeah, after that first 3 months, I just started getting people calling me about buying houses and not refinancing. And I'm glad that that's back. I really am because it's for a while there was a little bit of chaos going on. Like, is this going to be like 6 months? Is this going to be 8 months where people are scared to sell their homes?
Yeah.
Um, so what we talked about a little bit earlier, you're a little bit introverted. So this pandemic kind of didn't help you out, but it kind of plays to your narrative. Is there anything differently that you're doing because of the pandemic?
So at the start of the pandemic, and this has kind of always been, I know we may talk about this later, but this has all kind of always been my focus, is to put my focus into social media.
Mm-hmm.
So what's happening now is I'm doing a lot more virtual showings via Instagram or Facebook or whatever it may be, and I'm actually having good conversations with people that I already know, or people that I'm starting to get to know, about the housing market, the housing market or homes, or whatever it is that I post in my story.
So social media is a big part of your marketing strategy.
It's the only
That's the
marketing.
only thing.
Yeah, unless it's word of mouth from a friend to a friend, or a friend to somebody that I don't know. Social media is the number one marketing source that I use.
And I mean, I actually, I follow you on basically every social media source there is. And, I see what you're posting, and what you're posting is good content. And that's hard to find. A lot of people, they get sucked into, business, and there's no life. It's like, well, are you working 24/7? Is that all you do? So I like the fact that you do incorporate, going to the gym, your outside life, going to restaurants, getting a drink, whatever. It's not just all business. It's, you show that you're a person as well. Um, and that's fantastic. A lot of people, they, like I said, they get sucked into that, and they don't show good content. They just show their business content. And after a while, people can be like, all right, I've had enough of this. So
When I was first starting out, like, I was looking and people were saying, "Oh, start a business profile," and everything like that. And like, I never made a business profile for Instagram, but I did make one for Facebook. It's not that active. But it actually drives me crazy when I go, like, because I want to connect with other professionals in the area, but I find that really it's only people our age that are actually posting, like, about their life and like what they're doing, you
right,
know. Because when you go and you look up, Tampa Bay Realtor, for instance, on your Instagram search bar or whatever it may be, what you're gonna find is a feed flooded with just PDFs,
right,
and it's like, I don't want to see that. Like, that's not good content, and that's why they get one or two likes.
right.
So I try to make it as engaging as possible without being like super self-centered and just posting like a selfie every single picture, and then also just posting like a house every single picture too.
Right. And I completely agree with that. When I did my my marketing campaign with the Refi 2020, it was just a graphic. So I only could get so much traction.
Mm-hmm.
I think making videos, people hearing your voice, people, because that's a big thing about the human connection, is that when you text somebody, you're only getting like 3 to 5% of what they're actually saying. When you're talking to somebody on the phone, you're getting a little bit more than that. But when you're talking person to person, that right there is where the human connection aspect comes in, and you get the full reality of what's going on. You get to feel out that person. And so are you, when you connect with people, I know that with the pandemic, it's been difficult. You've been saying that you've been doing a lot of virtual things. Have you been doing, like, in-person meetings, or has it been mostly, just over Zoom, over FaceTime, over Google Duo?
Again, like, there's kind of two phases of this. So when this first started, everything was virtual. I mean, virtual consultations, virtual listing appointments, etc. But as like the second half kind of came around, I think people got more comfortable with the fact that, a mask and hand sanitizer is enough. And
Right.
let's go physically see this home, because no one's going to make a decision online. I
Mhm.
mean, if you think about it, and most every American is able to kind of compare to this. When you go and you're looking for a car on cars.com, or um, Craigslist, or whatever, wherever you shop for cars, you're gonna go test drive that car. You're gonna go feel it. You're gonna go smell it. You're gonna go, touch it. So it's the same thing with houses. Housing is even a bigger purchase than just shopping for a car. In most.
Absolutely. I mean, for most cases, it's the biggest purchase you'll make in your life.
Mhm.
Unless you decide you want to start doing commercial, which even then, that's still that's still technically a house. It's just a commercial house at that point. But absolutely, I 100% agree with you. You know, you can only go so far, and this is what we said earlier. You can only go so far, being online, being in person, seeing things, feeling things, smelling things. You have to have all the senses going to get a reaction. So in the first 3 months, did you think about getting a drone and maybe like, setting up a phone or something, having the drone fly around with you while you were showing the house?
No, so what I went out and bought is like a little gimbal, so a stabilizer, and
Okay.
that's what I've been using for like my showings. So the only two purchases that I made for, I guess, the pandemic and like making things more virtual, I bought an iPhone 11 Pro because it has the wide angle feature, and then I bought a gimbal just to keep the video nice and steady, and
Yeah.
it's nuts.
I mean, I've seen some of the videos, and it's like, for me, like I have, it's almost like I have Parkinson's when I'm like trying to take a video, like I'm trying to, it's trying to be stable. And it's like, I'm sitting here like basically, just, I can't, I'm not one of those people with stable hands. So I definitely probably should get one of those then if I ever decide to do something like that.
Yeah.
I also definitely have to get some better equipment going on for the podcast. As you can see, my green screen behind me is
Hey, you gotta start somewhere,
got to
man.
start somewhere. Got to start somewhere. So in your honest opinion, then, where do you think the market's going in the next 6 months?
Um, so we have no indicators that it's going down. I mean, you can just project that it's going to continue to go up. So we're probably going to see it continued. In my opinion, I think that the values are going to continue to rise unless something crazy happens. But I think after November, when the election comes around, that's going to be kind of like the staple. Like, is this going to happen for the next 4 years? Is this going to change? It really just depends.
Yeah. And so we really won't know until after November then, or
Yeah. But
November.
I will say this, even with a change happening, we purchasing a home is kind of like a hedge against inflation, because if rents continue to rise and prices continue to rise and everything like that, you have a continuous steady monthly payment that that you need a minimum of every single month to make.
Right.
So purchasing, I mean, why not, if you can make a purchase right now, if you can afford it, if you're qualified, if you can get anywhere between I don't know, two, three and a 3.5 on a good day or something like that, as far as your interest rate, and you're only paying $1,000 a month for a 2-bedroom house, in a location that is not that bad, like, why not do that?
And you have MBS Highway, so you've seen rent versus buy scenarios. You've seen all of those good tools that they have on there. I show people all the time the rent versus buy scenario: $200,000 house compared to a $200,000 house that they'd be renting.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are like, wait, so I would be spending $1,600, $1,600 to $1,800, depending on where the location of that house is, when in reality I can probably get a $200,000 house, especially with rates being as low as they are, for maybe as low as $1,000 a month. I would say probably more like 1,200, but 1,300 depending on taxes. But if you put enough down, there's a possibility.
And for anybody that may be watching this or hearing this, contact Gary and look at that 10-year rent versus buy, and it'll be like, you make 300 grand or you spend 700 grand, which is better? Like, you have to get a specific property, a specific location, see your average rent for the location, and it is mind blowing how much money you're losing out of, over the next 10 years, whatever it is.
It is mind blowing. And even going to the 5 years, right? Let's say, like, especially for first time home buyers, average age of a first time home buyer is anywhere from 3 to 5 years that they own that house. So even within the first 5 years, it's still, you're saving a crap ton of money. Yeah, $1,600. That's $400 a month difference with rates the way they are right now. In 5 years' time, that $200,000 house is going to appreciate, and you're still going to be making the same payment, if not refinanced because you've made extra payments, whatever, paid off debt, and yet still, it's not going to be $2,000 a month, which is what you'd be renting. So at 5 years, you would literally be close to $2,000. That's a $600 swing right there each month.
Yeah.
it just makes sense. And a lot of people, I was talking with Trey yesterday about this, where I really truly want to start helping people understand what to do with their credit, to keep their credit or build their credit, coming out of high school, coming out of college. It's very important to make sure that your credit is healthy, because without that, interest rates are like extremely low right now, but without good credit, you don't have that advantage, that a lot
Well,
of other people have.
even now, because they raised the credit minimum, right?
Right.
Is what 620
Yeah.
versus 580, and then I believe the conventional, instead of being 620, is 660 now,
Yeah.
or 680, something like that.
In some cases, yeah, it's 680.
Yeah, but it's kind of sad that the system doesn't teach about credit, and then they want you to depend so much on it for anything that you do. It's like if you have bad credit, you're a bad person, basically.
Right. Yeah. And there's no second chances. It's like
Nope.
you literally, like, it's not like you in credit. It's not like, you're in a business venture and you fail, and you don't fail miserably. You accidentally make one mistake and you bump down a couple notches. No, it's like they literally, like, you're back to square one. If not, you're underground 6 to 8 feet. It's mind blowing how one missed payment is a 50-point swing. It's like anywhere from 50 to 100 points. And this is very important for those out there that are listening. Please make sure your credit stays healthy, along with, and the other thing I will say too is, there's some great programs. Even though credit has increased, there's some great programs out there for people who do not have a lot of money, who still want to buy houses. It's just right now, because it's a seller's market, it's a little bit more difficult to get like FHA going with up to, what is it? I think 6% concessions that they can go up to.
Mhm.
So, it's hard to do that, with the seller's market. But I think, once the inventory comes back, rates are still going to be low. I think that, there's a good chance for people who don't have a lot of money, have decent credit, have something in the bank that they're able to, put down. If you think about it, it's 3.5 minimum from FHA. You can get up to 6% concessions. So if you get 6% concessions, you're basically putting 0.5% down on a house.
Mhm.
And $200,000 house, that's what, 2,500? Or no, sorry, it's like a grand, right? Yeah, it's like a grand.
Yeah, 2 grand,
Yeah, 2 grand,
2 grand.
0.5%.
Yeah.
I should know this. I'm the math guy. That's the bad thing. I should know this, but I love my calculator. It's my best friend. It's my best friend.
But yeah, that's kind of another thing too, is like folks that don't have any, like if their mom and their dad rent, or if they don't have experience in their family of home ownership, they don't know the difference of what a house costs. You see a house listed for 200 grand, they think, well, dang, I gotta fork out $200,000 if I want to buy this. I'd rather just rent for $1,000,
Yeah.
And it's not like that. It's like low percent down. In most cases, you can get closing costs paid for by the seller, and then you're able to move forward, where you're able to, have a very steady monthly payment and just keep it going.
And that's why they have a fantastic agent like you, because you get those concessions. You're the negotiator. That's why it's very important for all those that are listening out there. It's very important for you to have a buyer's agent, because they're the ones who are going to represent you. Don't go in this alone. This is what Calvin does for a living. He's a professional. He knows what he's doing. So make sure you get representation before you go in and start thinking about buying a house.
Yeah,
Same thing.
not even just me, because I know you're tooting my flute a little bit, but not even just me. Just make sure you find an agent that knows exactly what they're doing, and just sort of interview. You don't have to go with your mom's cousin or your grandma's realtor or whatever it is. Like, host interviews, like you're hiring that person. Like, to work with a buyer's agent, it's completely free,
Right.
but you can still pick the cream of the crop. It's not that you have to just settle for your mom's best friend or whatever it may be.
Don't settle. Absolutely. I 100% agree with you. I've had horror stories about, buyers being pressured,
Oh yeah.
just, and then on the opposite end too, where I just have, agents that are extremely nonchalant, and they're working with buyers who need to get into a house. And that's what it is. It's not, it's setting yourself up, with somebody who molds with you, who blends with you. You don't want, if it's, if you need a bulldog, somebody who's going to go and get the negotiations, get you in that house in 35 days or less, hopefully 30 days or less, because turn times right now are ridiculous with underwriting and the appraisals. But if you need a bulldog, find that bulldog, interview some people, like you said. If you're more nonchalant, you're trying, okay, well, maybe in the next like 6 months, I'm thinking, I don't know, I'm not really worried. Okay, then there's another person for that, but don't settle. I like where you're coming from with that. Don't settle for something just because it's, you don't know, you
Yeah.
know. So what are you seeing with like trends on house prices? Obviously they're going up, but are there certain areas that you're seeing that are trending higher than others?
Are there? Man, with each area, there's certain price ranges that are just ridiculous. Like, absolutely, that doesn't even make sense. Like, I'll give you an example. If you're shopping in Dunedin for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, with, like, it doesn't even have to have a pool, just updated, under, let's say, 400 grand, you'll see multiple offers. You'll see cash offers. You'll see conventional with like 50% down. You'll see just very strong offers. Now, what's even crazier, and I should have led with this example, is like the Tampa Heights market in Bayshore Gardens area. That area is ridiculous. I had a client that I was working with. Shout out Alex. He probably has a head full of gray hairs by now, but we probably went and visited six homes that we submitted offers on that were all in multiple offer cash deals, $15,000-$20,000 over list price. So like those are some pretty scary markets to shop in if you're not with an agent that doesn't know what they're doing. Like there are things that have to be supplied in the contract, such as escalation clauses, a high percentage of escrow. You can play with the inspection period a little bit, which is a little savvy. I won't talk about that on here, but there's a bunch of little things that you can do contractually that will make your buyer's offer look a lot better. And in those types of markets, Safety Harbor is another one.
I feel like
Downtown,
some parts of St. Pete too.
yeah, downtown St. Pete,
Yeah.
historic Wood. Those are all crazy, like super crazy areas. So that's why I live right outside.
You have a very I've been in that area where you live now, and it's this like it's this interesting place. It's got this like homey vibe to it, but it's 15 minutes away from downtown, if that, maybe 10.
Like 7 minutes from downtown. It's a 4-mile bike ride.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like a downtown area. It's like a suburbia, and then boom, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, you're in the city. So yeah, I'm up in Pasco, and I don't know if you've seen any trends up here, but I mean, goodness gracious, house prices are flying up here.
Absolutely, yeah. Pasco is actually seeing a higher rate of appreciation than Pinellas County is because of all the new construction.
Exactly. Not only that, I feel like there's a lot of things that they're doing to roads. I mean, in my neighborhood, they're redoing all the roads. They're putting in these palm trees, and the centerways, and yeah, they're cleaning it up, and Pasco County is huge. It's not just Newport Richey, Port Richey, Holiday, it's Wesley Chapel, it's New Tampa, it's a lot of, it's a big area.
Mm-hmm. I'd say Pasco is probably as big as Hillsborough.
Oh yeah, yeah, I would say so. It's just new construction.
They're bigger than Pinellas County,
Right. Oh, Pinellas County, I want to say Pinellas County has the highest volume of people per square foot in the country. We have like over 1.2 million people living in like this tiny little peninsula.
There's no way that we are bigger per square foot than Miami. There are millions of people that live in Miami.
That's a look at Miami-Dade County though, by county, by square foot. So like, yeah. So like what I'm saying is like Miami itself, absolutely. Like the city of Miami, most likely, yeah, it's probably has way more people than Clearwater or even Tampa or whatnot. But like the Pinellas County alone, like the county itself, because Miami-Dade's pretty big. But Pinellas County is this tiny little peninsula, and we have like 1.2 million people living here. So it's like we're living on top of each other.
Yeah.
And so that's why you see a lot of people going to Tampa, going to New Tampa, where all the new construction is, because it's growing. I feel, it's one of those areas that I think is going to be, it's on the come up for sure.
New construction is it's a cool little like aspect as you look at it like 10, 20 years from now. I think all down, I think that's what, 54, all down 54, they're just going to be loaded with houses.
Yeah, Starkey Ranch. There's a couple other ones that I can't remember because I don't really drive that way up.
There's more than I can name off the top of my head.
And it's all construction right now. It's literally, they're all under construction. I would say probably in the next year, we're going to see probably way over 300 houses, maybe even close to 500 houses being built out there.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Plus you got to consider the rate that people are moving to Florida.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
Crazy stat, like 350 people a day or something like that and moving to Florida. And there's only X amount of homes. Like we're way over the amount of people moving here versus housing that's supplied.
Right.
Which is also probably another indicator of why rents are rising.
Exactly. Because it's the demand, people are, and look at our generation too. Our generation's getting to the age where they're getting out of their parents' houses. They're finally done with college. They're getting out on their own. They're renting. They have roommates now because they're used to them in college. So we have this huge influx of people that are looking to buy houses, or they aren't because they're not educated in that aspect. Like they don't know, and so they're scared. And so that's why I wanted to do this podcast. A little bit of it was I wanted to educate some people that it's not. Yeah, right now it is a little. I won't say it's a little scary. It's a little nerve-wracking sometimes, but it's well worth it in the end. Both of us have gone through the process. I mean, my process was absolute hell, but that was because of me. But if you have everything that you need, if you have credit, if you have assets, if you have income, those three things, you could easily buy a house. Yeah. And we go back, there's so many, like, I know that affordable housing right now isn't they don't have the best programs out there, but there are still conventional 3% down programs. That, I mean, it makes sense for you, like 3%. Let's say even $100,000 house, which I know you really can't find $100,000 houses, but just for the simple math, that's $3,000 plus, probably another 2,500 to $3,000 for, for closing costs. So $6,000, save up $6,000, in the next year, instead of going out and doing something stupid. Stay in, save $6,000. And then you don't have to worry about rent rising ever.
Yeah. And then you get the bank on the appreciation. But I mean, I guess it just depends on the person's situation too.
Right. Yeah. And each person's different. So there is one other thing I was going to say, because I've been hearing rumors about this. And I mean, obviously, since the pandemic has been going down, I feel like it's possibly going to happen. How do you feel about like hybrid closings or like e-closings, all online, or a hybrid version of them?
I like it.
I think it's nice.
I see no point in like people if people don't get together to review contracts anymore, which back in like all the older realtors that I talked to say that back in the 80s or the 90s or whatever, whenever they did this, they would all get together, buyer, seller, buyer agent, seller agent, whoever else is involved, sit around a table and negotiate the contract. Well, right. Why does that need to happen? We have cell phones, so why can't we do closings on a computer?
Right.
And right now, how closings are, basically you have title agent, closing agent, and then you have the buyer agent, or the closing agent, and then the seller agent. So, I just think that an e-closing, it would be a lot more efficient. So that way people can be like in and out, go get their mover out, get the truck ready and start moving in like the same day versus being at closing for, 2.5 hours or whatever. And then just keep going on their way. But yeah, I like it.
I think that, because we're probably going to see hybrid closings before we see e-closings, but I have an app now, right? Like, it's not like I'm taking information over the phone anymore. A lot of what I do is I give people the phone app and they fill it out from their phone.
Hmm.
and they sign most of the documents from their phone. There's only a certain few documents that they have to wet sign. And to everybody out there who doesn't know what wet signing is, it's basically just hand signing it. Um, but yeah, there's only a few documents that, the wet signatures are needed. So even that hybrid closing of basically making copies of all the things that have been signed, e-signed, and just making sure that the hand signed signatures are filled out. Just those hand signatures, that still cuts off. It's a 30-minute closing, or a 15-minute close compared to, like we just talked about, 2.5 hours. My closing was, I think it was supposed to be at 12, and I didn't leave until like 4:35.
Sometimes they're like that,
Yeah.
especially if people aren't, if you have things under underwriting, or if people are just dragging their feet on the other end or something like that, it can always just be delayed. And then now you get a whole day basically just sitting at a table,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
And for the most part, to everybody out there, it's not, you're not always having 5 hour closing. It's just, I got very unfortunate. It can be a smooth process. It's just, depending on what the situation is, what's going on. But I mean, the feeling that you get after that closing, when they give you the keys and you're like, oh my God, I own a home. This is,
Oh yeah, it's worth it.
it's so worth it.
My boy down in Fort Lauderdale, he says that real estate's 99% drama free, or
Yeah.
that's what he tries to do, because there's always like that one little crinkle in there that's just like, why did that happen?
Yeah. And you're going to have, there's certain things that, yeah, you can have the most smooth process and still have one little wrinkle, and that's fine. It's just, it's working. It's finding the obstacle. Is it the way, or do I work around it? What do I do to get through this situation?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it's important to have professionals with you. And we keep coming back to this, that's why it's having good representation on the, for buyers out there, as well as, you need to make sure that, what your buying power is. You don't want to just go into and be like, hey, listen, I want to buy a $250,000 to $275,000 house, and you don't have the income, you don't have the assets to be able to do that. You want to make sure that you go to somebody and they tell you, that would be me. I'm the one that does that, by the way. But you want to make sure that you have a plan, because without a plan, then you're just rolling with the punches. And it's like, no, like if you have a game plan, that one wrinkle, it's like, don't worry about it. This is easy fix. So we've gone a little bit with the real estate end. Now, I've known you for a long time. A lot of the first two guests that I've had on here, I've collectively, I think, known for 20 plus years, between the both of you guys. What kind of motivations, drive you every day? Like, are there certain books? Are there certain, people that drive you to be where you are? Because you just got top agent of August for Lock and Key Realty. So what's driving you?
Yeah, I think for that, that was just timing, to be honest with you. But
Humble man.
for me, my biggest thing, kind of like my reason why, my purpose, is more so about giving back. So like, what I want to do when I get to a certain point of success, and where I'm able to leverage myself a little bit more and buy back my time, is go into like inner city schools and just kind of supply like a mentorship program, like, hey, this doesn't have to be the way that you have to go, here's the other routes that you can go. Because a lot of times people don't have that type of leadership, they don't have that type of direction in their life, so they kind of just go with the flow of things. So just want to be able to supply just information about anything, just to be kind of up level your life. So I want to do that to I think right now my focus is on high school. It'll either be high school or middle school.
Yeah, I was talking to Trey yesterday, and he said the same exact thing. And I'm so glad that people like us are out there where we want to give back. It's because your time is valuable, and to give some of that time to other people so that they can succeed and they can do something more than what they think they are is very important. I think that we should, me, you, and Trey, then, because he's got Dream Chasers Motivation going on right now. I think we could probably team up and do something. Um, Maybe in the next, this is the futuristic, future talking, but I think we could set something up like that.
Plus
Or,
the
yeah.
golfing, you can teach me.
And honestly, with him, with Trey, he has the motivational aspect. He gets people to do things that normally they wouldn't think they could do. You could teach people, not only that, but you could also teach people things about real estate, things about investing, and especially with time. Like, time is the biggest investment that we waste. Like, everything else, we can waste all the money in the world, but it doesn't matter because we never get time back. We can get money back, we can never get time back.
Your most expensive asset.
It is. And for people to understand that, that would go a long way. How do you feel about sports being back?
I mean, I don't really care. I'll probably be the first person to tell you I played football for 18, 19 years of my life, and I don't watch it.
Really?
I watch. I always I tell my boy Kason that I'll only watch football if it's on. I don't have any cable. I don't have any streaming services that have football. But if I'm out hanging out with some friends and the game's on, I'll watch it.
Right.
I understand the sport. I understand everything about it. And then it's good right now because all the Tampa Bay teams are doing good.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know about the Rays. Are the Rays still in it?
Oh, the Rays are still in it. Rays are the best team, I think, second best team in baseball right now.
Yeah. So I mean, all the Tampa Bay teams are doing good. Well, aside from the Bucks 0-1 start, but they'll pick it up. But yeah, I mean, for me, I cut the cable like 4 or 5 years ago, and since then I never looked back. I read, I work out, play Call of Duty in my free time, and then outside of that, I'm really just spending time with myself.
Yeah, and it's like I said earlier, I started doing the same thing because after a while you start getting this repetitive notion of like watching the same thing over and over again. It doesn't matter. It's like each TV show in its own way is funny, but it's almost like the narratives are all the same. You get a sitcom, it's going to be the same. You're going to have that witty humor. It's the same thing, but reading books and working out and making yourself a better version of yourself, whether it be physically, mentally, intellectually, these are things that are going to get you places, not, sitting on your ass and watching TV all day. Like people during the pandemic, that's what they were doing, and other people, I'm so glad that I found, philosophy. I found stoicism, because without it, I probably would have been that person on the couch, just sitting there all day watching TV. But yeah, books are fantastic. Even if audiobooks, like I listen to audiobooks on the way to work. I have a 45-minute commute, and that's all I do is listen to audiobooks now instead of music, because
audiobooks, podcasts. I mean, find kind of like, I always think, like when I talk about books and stuff like that, I would always think of this picture. It's like, I forget what exactly it says, but it's like a picture of like a little seedling sprouting. It's like every day you're either growing or you're dying. So when I'm physically reading or I'm physically listening to a book or working out or whatever it is, today I'm growing. If I'm not doing anything else that I feel that is bettering me, then I'm essentially dying, as it says.
Right. So that you're basically that, that information that you're trying to learn and put out there, do actually do it. That's the water, for your plant. And with, whenever you don't have that, you don't feel like you're hydrating yourself, as a plant. So that makes sense. So I basically, I think I've kind of gone over a lot of the things that I wanted to. Did you have anything that you wanted to say out there about, anything else in the real estate world, anything like that?
No, I mean, it may seem scary, but it's not. Work with somebody that's good, not somebody that sucks, and you'll be good.
Simple but effective. Calvin, it's been an absolute pleasure. We're going to have to get on here. I think that we should do another one of these after November, because I want to see what shakes out with the election and where things are going. And then we can have another one of these. Actually, we can finally answer the question, what do you think is going to happen in 6 months? For real.
Tune in next time.
All right. Again, episode 2 of Lushious Thinking. My name is Gary Lush. And Calvin Pringle, thank you so much for being on my show, and I can't wait to have you on again.
Oh, good, man. I appreciate it.
All right. Have a good one, man.